There are few things Star Trek fans can universally agree on, but it's fair to say most Trekkies regard Star Trek The Next Generation Season 1 as a low point for the mythos. The Next Generation would go on to become a definitive incarnation of Star Trek, celebrated for decades as a cultural icon, but it definitely had a rough start. But why? This fact has become very familiar to Trek fans, but I feel it's worth re-examining TNG's first year to unpack why this season felt so off, and how it improved later down the line. If TNG's first season problems had to be summed up in a single word, it would be character. Thin characters and plot-driven stories are common criticisms of science fiction in general, and it would seem Season 1 succumbs to these pitfalls, but I tend to view these issues as being symptoms of a larger problem, not the cause. It's easy to point to a show and say its characters are bad, and it could simply be improved by writing good characters. But that begs the question, what does it mean for a show to have good characters? Any writing enthusiasts or indeed professionals in the comments may be about to bring up subjects like backstory, personality, flaws, goals, wants and needs, etc. These are all certainly interesting subjects to explore in character writing, but once again, I don't think speak to the heart of the issue in TNG Season 1. After all, pretty much all of the show's characters have these elements from the start. The series Bible describes several character backstories in detail. Their personalities are distinct from the first episode. I'd even say most of the Enterprise crew have some kind of easily recognizable flaw. Picard is a snooty, detached ship captain who finds it difficult to be vulnerable. Tasha Yar is a headstrong woman of action who sometimes leaps before looking. Data is a hyper-capable science officer who struggles to understand human emotion, and so on. They're all reasonably well defined, yet somehow these characters still fall flat in Season 1. And that's because character does not exist.
I don't think I understand your... I can understand your confusion.
Now this may sound like an odd thing to say about writing, but see if you can follow me here. If I handed you a script and said point to the dialogue, you can point to the dialogue. If I said point to the plot, you can point to the stage directions. If I said point to the character, what exactly do you point to? Sure, you can point to a name, but a name is not a character. Where is that thing we call character contained in the screenplay? There's this common belief among many writers that character and plot are created as separate entities, and then plugged into each other. Before we can decide what a character is going to do and say, we have to figure out who they are. But this way of looking at things is totally backwards. Because ultimately when it comes to visual mediums like television, characters are what they do and say. Nothing more, nothing less. What we think of as character is simply what we as a viewer infer from watching someone's behavior. You can write all the backstory in the world and fill out all the boxes of a character sheet, but unless you know what a character is going to do or say, then you haven't written a character, you've written a wiki. Unless it comes up in the plot, it doesn't matter what a character's favourite colour is, or where they grew up, or any other piece of inane trivia. All that matters is a character's actions. And this is the crucial problem with TNG Season 1. Sure, the characters are identifiable, and we even learn some of this trivia about them, where Tasha Yar grew up, Riker's love of jazz, Picard's taste in tea, but this is all ephemeral information. It doesn't tell us much about who these people are. Funnily enough, Tasha Yar ends up being one of the more well-characterized members of the ensemble, because her actions immediately make her stand out from the more reserved Starfleet officers. In the first episode, she kicks the shit out of an armed guard and tells a godlike entity where he can shove it. When we learn about where she grew up, it isn't just backstory fluff, it provides crucial context for why she has such a tough exterior and why she so passionately defended the Enterprise crew against Q's accusations. It's a real shame she was killed off so early on in the show. The rest of the characters unfortunately fall flat, mostly because they don't do anything nearly as interesting. It's surprising to note just how passive the Enterprise crew are in so many Season 1 episodes. Plots are rarely driven by the characters. Instead, things mostly happen to them, with the jeopardy either resolving itself or the crew finding some easy escape. In Code of Honor, for example, the crew mostly go along with Lutan's plan. He kidnaps Tasha Yar to make her fight and kill his wife Yurina so he can inherit her wealth, and the Enterprise crew lets that happen. At nearly every turn, Lutan is the one calling the shots. Only at the last moment does Lutan's plan go awry when Dr. Crusher steps in to revive Yurina. Sure, in this instance, Crusher is the one effecting change, but she's a medical doctor. It's her job to treat people. No crucial character-defining actions are made here. In The Last Outpost, the crew are even more passive and less effective in the plot. The Enterprise and Ferengi are captured by Portal 63 and are only released when Riker continues behaving and acting the way he always does. This is a far cry from an episode like Arena, where Kirk had to prove humanity's worth by sparing the Gorn. In The Last Outpost, the away team just dicks around with the Ferengi for a while and is then let go. Riker didn't have to do anything. In Lonely Among Us, the alien entity which possesses various crew members gets exactly what it wants. It gets snagged by the Enterprise and manipulates events so the ship takes it home, and it goes home. None of the characters do anything noteworthy. The episode is basically hijacked by this alien, and then after it buggers off, the crew continues about their day as normal. And I'm still not done. In Haven, the entire plot is driven by Wyatt Miller. He dreams about a girl, sees the girl, and then goes to be with the girl. The Enterprise crew mostly just stand by and let it happen. In 11001, Picard and Riker try out some holodeck DLC while the Bynars steal the ship, and later they agree to do what the Bynars always wanted to do. In the Neutral Zone, Offenhouse drives the plot more than anyone. The Enterprise meets the Romulans, and basically nobody does anything. The main characters do very little beyond what's expected from a starship crew. They feel like gears driving an engine rather than people affecting real change. This isn't true of every episode in Season 1. Data Lore and Heart of Glory in particular are very character driven, but it's true of enough episodes in Season 1 to bring it down as a whole. Other strong episodes like Where No One Has Gone Before, We'll Always Have Paris, and Conspiracy have creative enough premises that pure spectacle overcomes the character gap. They may seem more characterful at first glance, but it's really just more expository fluff. Season 2 is where TNG started to improve because the plots became more character driven. Elementary Dear Data is almost entirely character driven. Pulaski and LaForge have a difference of opinion about Data, so the trio agree to a challenge to prove who is right, and Moriarty is born out of their actions. For as much praise as The Measure of a Man is given for its exploration of heady themes, it's also very character driven. Every turn in the plot happens because of someone's actions. The entire episode is made up of characters arguing their perspectives and taking actions in accordance with their beliefs. It isn't just an intellectual argument, but a clash of ideals which clearly means something to these people. That's why it works as a piece of drama and not just as a thought experiment. Q Who is another great example. Q doesn't propel the Enterprise to the other side of the galaxy just for fun, he does it to answer a challenge given to him by Picard. The Borg are a great concept, but their introduction is so memorable because it's given context through the actions of the characters. TNG's third season is where the show comes into its own because it refocuses the narrative of almost every episode onto the characters. Evolution, for example, forces Wesley Crusher to own up to a mistake. He wants to help solve the problem, but doing so might make him look bad in the eyes of the people he respects. That anxiety leads him to initially try to solve the problem on his own, until he's talked into doing the right thing by Guinan. This simple plot point tells us far more about Wesley Crusher than his infallible actions did in Season 1. The conflict with the nanites is also driven by character actions, namely those of Dr. Stubbs. He tries to exterminate them because he sees them as worthless insects messing up his life's work. I'm not even talking about an especially great episode here, but it just goes to show how big of a difference character-driven writing makes to TNG's watchability. Let's go back to The Last Outpost and imagine a more character-driven version of the same story. What if Riker went on the warpath in this episode, like we later see him do in Darmok? His ship is in peril, its crew, people he cares about. If he doesn't act, they could die. If he thinks the Ferengi are to blame, he'd let them have it. What if in this new version he's so desperate to save his friends he orders his away team to attack first, and when he finds out the Ferengi are not to blame, he tries joining forces with them to destroy Portal 63. Following this idea would make the line,
"Fear is the true enemy, the only enemy,"
have some real meaning. It wouldn't be a generic life lesson, but something Riker has specifically learned. Sure, it sounds like a repeat of Arena in broad strokes, but it would tell us more about Riker's character. Picard could be the one who always keeps the bigger picture in mind, while Riker goes with his gut. That is essentially what the show gives us later on, but the opportunity was there from the beginning. Like any failure, Star Trek The Next Generation's first season provides us with valuable lessons. It shows us that sci-fi spectacle is no substitute for good drama, and good drama comes from character. It also shows us that character and plot are not the separate entities they sometimes appear. They are not two elements of the story created in isolation and then plugged into each other. A good plot and good characters are one and the same. This video is sponsored by Star Trek Fleet Command, a strategy game where you can recruit legendary characters to crew iconic ships. You can send them off on away missions, fight global battles, join alliances, gather resources, and upgrade your fleet. Play now on mobile or PC using the link in the description, or scan this QR code to download the game now. Take control of iconic Star Trek ships and characters as you engage in fierce battles with players from all over the world. Immerse yourself in an original story and become a member or leader of your own mighty alliance, all of it rendered with stunning graphics. And this month there's an exciting event to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Star Trek Voyager. You play a story that picks up with 7 of 9 right after the series ended. You can unlock 7, Tuvok and many more characters. Players can use the promo code CRUSHERS to get 2 full officer unlocks and a full unlock of the Jellyfish starship once you hit OPS 18 for free. The promo runs from now until the end of January, and the Jellyfish bundle is live for 7 days after. Follow the link below or scan this QR code to download Star Trek Fleet Command and play for free now. Thank you for watching. Leave the video a like, and if you want to stay up to date on future uploads, hit the subscribe button and bell icon. You can also see videos early, uncut, and ad-free by joining me on Patreon. Speaking of which, I'd like to thank all of my patrons and members with an ultra thanks to Eamon Kelly, Michael Hardy, Ian Hodge, County Ark, Mike Halsey, Retro PC Gamer, Benjamin Stokes, Movie Magic, Charles Borsam, Olivia Computer, Bano, Extreme Streamers, Tom, Dusk, Colin Camille, Patrick Fleming, Matthew Camille, Ed Mark Starr, Dylan Thomas, Lilac Yane, Howard Craig Kervik, and Kajing G. Thank you once again for watching, and until next time, have a good one.